Good afternoon, everybody. It's Bonnie Hunter in the basement at Quiltville on a Saturday afternoon. Biggest thing going on around here, the first Saturday that I really need air conditioning, and the air conditioner keeps breaking the breaker. So, and of course it's a weekend. I'm a little bit sweaty. Where's my fan? Up at the retreat house in Virginia, where the air conditioning was also non-existent for a while, although that should be working now. I'm just really excited to be here and sewing with you today. It's been quite a while since we've been able to do Quilt-Cam. Hi, everybody. I see you coming in. That's awesome. I hope that you've brought something to stitch with today. Maybe you're putting on a binding or doing some applique, or maybe you're simply just cutting up your scraps into usable pieces for your scrap user system. We had a gal at retreat this week. Yes, I went on retreat with the Ashe County Peacemakers Guild, just impromptu. I got a message that said, we have space, would you like to just come and sew for the day? And I did, 2 days in a row. It was awesome. And one gal just simply brought her box of random scraps that had been piling up for quite a while. And while we chatted and laughed and had a great time on retreat, she pressed and trimmed and cut and sorted and is going home with all of this random fabric in hunks and chunks and pieces and parts, now sorted into usable pieces, excited to be pulling some scrap quilts together. Today, most of my stuff is in Virginia. Stuff that I'm working on includes all of my Quiltmakers Addicted to Scraps column blocks for this coming year. So that's going on this week. They have to be sent off in June for 2020. So I have cut myself some little kits. If you have the April, let's see, I think it's March, April issue of Quiltmaker from this year, there's a little tulip block in there called Blossom Time. And these tulips reminded me of my recent stay at the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island just a week ago now. I've been home a week. And those tulips there were just starting to come out of their little buds, just starting to open up. But I tell you what, when it is 28 degrees with the wind chill and freezing drizzle on a May morning, it's no wonder those tulips don't want to wake up and come out and show their true colors. So that's what I've done today. I've cut out 4. I don't know if we'll get all 4 done during Quilt-Cam, but I wanted to use one block as the leader ender of the other and see if I can build some things consecutively that way. We have our new leader and ender challenge starting in July. So this is just kind of an interim thing for me. If you finished this year's leader ender challenge and you'd like to have something to work on, maybe cut yourself a few of these cute little tulip blocks. The instructions are in the, I think it was March, April issue of Quiltmaker Magazine. You may still be able to get it online. You can likely get the digital copy online. I used my Essential Triangle tool to cut the half square triangles needed. And instead of doing stitch and flip corners on what is the base square where the stem is, I actually cut a triangle in half, insert a little strip of fabric, and then trim down. So that's what I will be doing today. What am I tackling? This stuff. Do you guys have stuff like this? These are all 2.5-inch batiks, but they were left from another project. And some of them are just big enough to get maybe 2 leaf triangles out of. Maybe the piece is big enough. There's a couple of these. This looks like tail ends of jelly roll. So, oh my goodness, there's 2 pieces that match. So I'd probably be able to get the tulip parts that I need out of this and then have this be gone. So that's my goal. This kind of stuff, these are too small to really be considered strips, wouldn't you say? But if I can use them in this project, then it's a win-win, because now I no longer have this clogging my scrap user system, these small pieces, and I'll have some really cute blocks to play with. There's some other colors in here too. There's a lot of purple, which is great, and blue. Yeah, there's no such thing as a blue tulip, but we don't care. There's some orange, there's greens, there's some golds. So we're just going to play with those. The only other thing that I had to pull from scrap user system was a strip of background and what I wanted to use for some additional greens for the leaves and things like that. If this is your first time joining me at Quilt-Cam, I welcome you. I'm excited that you're here. Quilt-Cam is something that happens randomly when life allows it. When I'm up in Virginia so far, until we get everything ready with the retreat house and my post office, I don't have a strong enough signal at the cabin in the mountains to be able to stream video live. We've tried, it doesn't work, it skips and it lags. So I have to be home to be able to do this. So we just watch and we'll post a message. I like to do it at least once a month if I can. More often would be better. And in the future, we should be able to do that. If you wanted to share something with me so that I can share it with everybody else, we have a special email address for you to send your photos to. It's quiltcamtime@gmail.com. Quiltcamtime, one word, no capitals needed, @gmail.com. Things going to my regular business email address, if there's 100 photos coming in, it's just not a good thing. So please don't mail things to my personal address. We're keeping Quiltcamtime at quiltcamtime@gmail.com. Okay, so what am I sewing on today? This is a Necky Supernova Ultra. It's the Ultra 2, and I got to grab the foot pedal back here. So this is also the first day that I'm actually wearing shorts, which is not a pretty sight. Let's say that a razor hasn't touched these legs in weeks, and sandals. So I'm excited. I have threaded this machine up. I have marked my 1/4 inch seam, and I am just ready to sew. Now this machine was built in the 1950s in Italy, and it runs like a Ferrari. It's really a great machine for doing many, many things. The only thing I have found that is a little bit of a struggle for me is I have not yet found a walking foot that works on this machine because it's a very high shank, and where things connect in here, I just can't seem to get a walking foot. But for string piecing, for regular patchwork piecing, for using zigzag to attach scrap pieces of batting together to make a Franken batting big enough for a wall-hanging baby quilt, full-size quilt, this machine is a dream. And of course it's pink, so we love it. What I'm going to do here is just get started. I'm breaking this block down into its parts. I've got 2 leaf triangles, a background for the stem and the stem piece, the body of the tulip square, and 2 tulip triangles. There's also a little 4 patch that happens at the top of the tulip that makes it little cute little stamen there. And I think I will use those pieces, the 4 patch pieces, to keep me going in between the chains of other things. I'm going to turn my iron on here because I'm going to need it. It can be heating up while we're doing this. This is a Rowenta, an older one. It's never had water in its body, not since I've had it. Oh yeah, get hot, baby. And $3.99 Goodwill, shiny chrome plate on the bottom. As long as I don't put water in, I'm good to go. And then $3.99 can't be beat for having to replace an iron should I need to. So let's do this. I'm just going to start here. I've got just a scrap piece in here to hold my place. I was finishing some orders the other day. So I do have a 1/4 inch foot on this machine because it comes with a foot that is wider than the 1/4 inch, and this is the high shank that it comes with. This is the traditional 5/8 of an inch patchwork zigzag foot. So I was able to get just the shank part with the snap-on foot, and I like that. And I also put my guide down, so I have something to follow here. What I like about this machine is it has 2 speeds. I can actually flip a switch and have it slow or slow down on me. It was a pretty nifty machine back in its day. It actually takes a twin needle, and it's got 2 spool holders back here. And it takes cams for decorative stitching, but I've never used those. I'm a 1-track patchwork girl. Okay, so I've done those 4 triangles. Let's throw these little 4 patch pairs through. It was a really cute little block to kit up. And if you cut several of these and just set them by your machine, you'd be able to work these parts in between the other things that you're working on. As I said, everything else that I'm working on is up at the cabin not here. And I'll be heading back up there when we are done because my friend Irene is showing up tomorrow from Kentucky. She's going to help me with some retreat ideas. And then I'll be finishing up my next year's Addicted to Scraps column blocks behind the scenes while we visit with each other. Okay, so I'm going to leave those 2 little 4-patch pairs underneath the machine, underneath the needle, and bring these triangles forward. And I always like to check my tension to make sure that the pieces are not curling up. If the pieces are curling up, your tension on your presser foot might be too high. So you can, if you're on a vintage machine, you can loosen that a little bit. Check your bobbin tension. That can also sometimes make things curl up just a little bit. Things should lay nice and flat. And maybe I need a little smaller stitch, I think, here too, because the last thing I was doing was stay stitching around the edge. So I just put that down at a 2. I like to trim my dog ears before pressing. So I just cut that at a 45-degree angle right at the stitching. And usually that's right over the trash can. And I'm going to press this here. Iron should be nice and hot. One thing when you're pressing, I'll hold this up here. Avoid pressing from point to point across the triangle this way. That's one way to really stretch that triangle unit out of shape. So I place my iron so it goes straight grain from top to bottom this way. Okay, so I open up the fold and then make sure your iron goes side to side, not point to point. And you'll find that you have units that stay a lot more square. This one really looks pretty good. I'll double check the size, but it's looking good. Just straight from side to side, don't go point to point. And I like to use my fingers to open up the seam, press it over so that I know that I'm getting a good flat fold with no pleats in it. So here's the fabrics I've chose, the little purple batik and that little gray polka dot. It's cute. Cute, cute. So I like to run my finger along the fold to make sure that it's open all the way, and then use the iron to be sure I'm pressing side to side, not corner to corner. Give it a try. I know you'll have a good result. Okay, let me move these over here. And, okay, so what I did was take the same size square as the base square in the block. The pattern will tell you what size to cut, and I cut that square in half. It's the same size square as the base of the tulip. And then I've got a 1-inch strip, and I'm going to just insert that strip in between these 2 triangles, and it'll do the same thing as putting a stitch and flip corner on each end of a stem square with less fabric waste. And I'm all about less fabric waste, so I'm just going to center that triangle on there. Stitch that. And then use this little 4-patch pairs. This is the stamen side. I wish I had a camera that was over my shoulder here. We had that at Stitch in Heaven in Texas a few weeks back, and it was really, really nice, but it requires more equipment, and they had a dual camera setup going on, which means you've got to have a cameraman or somebody in the same room with you to tell you what's going on. So when I'm sewing 4 patches, we've done this before with previous mysteries, but the first thing I do is place the dark square at the top so that the light one's at the bottom and the top seam allowance is pointing up. That's the way it's going to go through the machine. But before I align the top edge or the bottom edge, I am going to snuggie those seams tight close to each other. So make sure that you nest that seam first and hold it there. You can put a pin if you wish, but I nest first and then align the top and bottom edge. And I have much better luck at keeping things together at that point if I do things that way. All right, and then align the bottom edge. I think one of the things that people neglect just a little bit, we align the bottom edge to start, and then we just sew off, and the feed dogs may be working on the bottom edge, the bottom layer of fabric, more than they are the top. And if you don't hold the bottom edge of the top layer and the bottom edge of the bottom layer together and make sure that they stay even. That's where you're going to get some shift at the end of a unit pair, right? So make sure, match the top, match any seams, and match the bottom and hold them there. Any easing that has to happen in between those two spots. Don't just let fabric ease off the back end, leaving things uneven at the outside edge of your unit. Because then what are we left to do? Well, we have to then trim down, and now we're too small. Okay, so we're going to take this triangle, which is now the leader ender thing, and I'm going to press this seam. I think we're going to press it out. I could press it towards, but that's going to make it a little bit bulky. So I've got the stem sewn to this triangle. I'm going to grab the second triangle and center it. And we're going to stitch again. This is going to give me a stem that's 1/2 inch in width. Okay, and then here's the little 4 patch that's going to be the stamen. And I will go, this doesn't have to nest anything, so I will spin that little seam. I like simple blocks like this, the small little blocks. And this is an asymmetrical block, so you can rotate it and spin it or keep them all going one direction or put them in opposite directions, whatever you want to do. So here is the little spin that's on the back side of those seams, and that helps it lay really, really flat. Okay, so I've gone as far as I can here. I can lay this out. Mostly, I am still missing the stem part that's there, but we can pull it as soon as we start feeding this block through. Nope, it's got to go this way. What else am I missing? I'm missing 2 more squares. Well, shoot on a cracker. Okay, so I'm missing my other 2 side squares, but here we go so far. So I need 2 more gray squares that are going to go here, and my little stem will go there. But before I grab those, let me check into some email and see how you were going. Boy, I thought I was so good. I only cut the pieces that needed piecing. I didn't cut the plain ones. It's Saturday. The air conditioner's not working. The painters didn't come back, or the drywall guys didn't come back to sand the drywall so that we could paint this weekend. And it's life. Okay, so quiltcamtime@gmail.com. Stephanie Hill says, this is my first time catching you live. I've been watching and listening to archived sessions while I sew. When my daughter-in-law heard you, I told her you were another quilting friend. Today I am hand stitching the binding on a sampler quilt while I watch. Thanks for keeping me company. So if she's hand stitching a binding, maybe it's not so hot where she is, or she'd be in shorts with the fan going, and hopefully her air conditioner would stay on. I'm glad that you're here, Stephanie. We have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun. We really do. Sheila says, sorry to inform you, but things look very fuzzy today on Quilt-Cam. Many people are writing comments. Well, that's just the way that it is. It's in my basement. If it's not clear, I can't help it. Thank you. All right. Jeanette says, buttons. I'm deboning shirts that I purchased for $5 per bag from a local thrift shop sale. Any thoughts on what to do or where to donate the buttons? I would put them in a jar and just see if there are any quilt friends who want to take them from you. I think if you put them in a cute little jar and put a bow on it and use them as centerpieces for a guild function or something like that, I don't think you'll have any problem. They'd be really cute that way. Yeah, I may be out of focus, but this is the best I can do. So I will skip any emails that, I mean, there's nothing I can do. I'd have to restart this as a totally new feed. If it's not clear, it's my internet connection and the air conditioner doesn't work and this and that and the other thing. So my only choice would be to just cancel Quilt-Cam altogether. Thank you. Okay, Sherry says, just finished my Blue Ridge Beauty quilt top and I'm hoping to have it finished to bring for show and tell at the Minnesota Quilters show. Pfeffernuss workshop with you. Nola loves the new quilt too. Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful. So she's got her Blue Ridge Beauty there. You'll find the pattern from Blue Ridge Beauty in my book, Adventures with Leaders and Enders. It's another great one. 4 patches and half square triangles, a whole plethora of them. That's gorgeous. What else has she got going on? Oh, so this is her Nola. She's got her little kitty there also enjoying the quilt. Cat photos are best when there's a quilt involved. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Under My Needle from Debbie Hargrave. She says it's stormy in Garland. So she is sharing. Oh my goodness, how lovely is this? Come on, picture. So she's doing, looks like an applique. Some kind of a critter. I see legs. I see feet. I see butterflies. That is absolutely beautiful. Okay. So Joyce says, Quilt-Cam. So here I am looking for things that are complaining on how grainy things are. I can check, get up and check to make sure that I am plugged in and hardwired to the house, but I know I am, or I wouldn't have any connection down here at all. She says, Quilt-Cam on Saturday, nice and warm in Pennsylvania, working on cutting pieces for a mariner's compass. We'll see you at your workshop with Mary in July. I can't wait. So glad you're with us, Joyce. And this one's from Quilter's Corner 54, says, another mystery quilt I just finished. You got me hooked. And this is Diane in Iowa. Oh, Diane, that is gorgeous. That is absolutely beautiful. So this isn't one of our Quiltville mysteries. I wonder if I turn it sideways. Will it work? There we go. This isn't a Quiltville one, but that is absolutely beautiful. Mystery quilts are a great way to hone up your skills on units that you might not have chosen for yourself, and to experiment with different fabric combinations and colors that you may not have chosen for yourself, and learn something in the process. So don't ever be afraid to jump into a mystery project. I'm going to check the connection on this laptop and grab some fabric strips, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so connection is in, and it's on, and it's on. Okay, it's in. Okay, so I grabbed 2 of the fabrics I was short, and all I need to do is cut myself a couple of squares. So I'm going to move these pieces aside, and we can get this block assembled. I can't believe I forgot that. I was kind of in a hurry of a rush. At least I got the rotary cutter in a little square, so we're good. I'm just going to cut 2 background squares here. I like having a small mat next to my sewing machine. Oftentimes I'm squaring up a unit, or removing dog ears, or subcutting, or whatever it is, just right here at the sewing machine if it's small stuff. Big stuff I'll do at the table. Okay, so here we go with that. That's going to be much more better. We had a really great time at the Grand Hotel Needle Art Seminar, and if it's something you think you'd like to participate in, I know that they've got a great lineup for the next couple of years, and I will be back in 3 years. So I'll be back there in 2022. All right, so all that I'm missing now is the stem section that is my leader ender underneath the machine right now. If you don't have another project to use as a leader ender, just leave the last of whatever was in your chain down here. I can start piecing this, and by the time I need this piece, I can trim it off the end of my chain right here. So I don't need that out of the machine to see what it looks like right here. I know what that's going to look like. So we will do, I will go second one over the first all the way down the block, and then take that out and trim it and put it in place, and we will be ready to roll. And then I can start pulling in the next block pieces. Okay. Yeah, so I can pull this one off right there, set it aside. It was this time last year that I was excited about this block coming out in the spring. Now I'll need to find another spring block for next year's. Okay, so I can grab the next block. And let's start with the stem section of that one. That'll get me going here. Okay, so here's our block, still webbed together. I'm going to find the best way to press here, just like a 9 patch. Okay, so here we are so far. Move that aside. So this is what the little stem section looks like. Let me just finger press that. It doesn't change the size of the base unit. I just need to re-square it up and get rid of those uneven edges, and it'll be ready to put right back into place. Get a little iron flat here. Okay, so this is another one of those things why it's great to have a small ruler and a rotary cutter at your table. And I'm just trimming it back to the size that it originally was. When you insert a 1-inch strip, it doesn't take up any space. It doesn't make the block unit grow or shrink. It just stays the same size. Okay, so here's my little stem unit. Try that. Just cut a square in half and insert a 1-inch strip and retrim it back down to the size that you started with. Okay, get rid of those dog ears. I find that easier than doing 2 stitch and flip corners. So now, if I hold this up, this is where we are now. So I'm ready to add that column number 3 onto the block. Okay, and here we go. Watch the placement of those leaf triangles. Ask me how I know. Okay, I'm going to sew that stem piece right on there. Okay, so we've gone as far as we can with this block. The leader ender that was at the front of the train is that stem section for the next block. So I'm going to work on that one. Grab the other background triangle and just center it with the triangle that's already on there. Whoops. Except the whole triangle slid. Shift happened. Boy, did it happen. What happened there? It just went all haywire. Okay, that sounds like a good time to check who's sending in some more emails. So, things that we've got going on here. Have you checked the blog since yesterday? We've got a quilty box for May 2019 giveaway going on. The drawing happens Tuesday. It's an awesome box with some really great fabric and a wonderful template set, some Orfil thread and some flower head pins, some wonderful stuff. So be sure to check on the blog for that. And we've got, alrighty. Paula says, my lucky day, yay, Quilt-Cam. I'm working on machine quilting a baby quilt today. I just happened to sit for a bit with a cup of coffee and my tablet. Perfect timing. Now I can be inspired too with joining you all for Quilt-Cam. I'm a novice when it comes to machine quilting, so I figure I couldn't go wrong with simple wavy lines. And she's sharing a picture of those gorgeous wavy lines. You can see beyond the handle on her long arm what she's doing there. Gorgeous. You cannot go wrong with wavy quilting like that. That is absolutely beautiful. And the baby won't care, right? That's absolutely lovely. Okay. Sandy says she's tacking a binding. So excited to catch this Quilt-Cam. I'm working on tacking a binding on a Quilt of Valor quilt. The rain has finally stopped here in Connecticut, and it's in the low 70s. Thanks for all you do. And she's sharing a picture of her binding going on. I see some gorgeous quilting on there too. So she's got a very patriotic God Bless America quilt there with the Statue of Liberty in the center. Sounds wonderful. I'm really glad that everybody's enjoying their Saturday. It's not very often that I'm home here on a Saturday, so it's extra nice today. Okay, so Caitlin's also doing patriotic quilting. I sense a theme. July is right around the corner, or Memorial Day is right around the corner. This weekend is also Armed Services Day. And she says, hello from Butte, Montana. I am working on quilting a patriotic quilt for our new veterans home. On Father's Day, there will be a quilt show where all the quilts will be on display. And then once the veterans home is built, the quilts will be presented to the residents. Thank you for all you do, and thanks for a fun Quilt-Cam Saturday. Oh, that's lovely. So she's got a beautiful, bold pinwheel quilt. Can you go wrong with pinwheels? I don't think you can. And look at the colors. So much movement. That is absolutely beautiful and a very worthy cause. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today. I hope that things are coming in a little bit more clearer. All I can say is that between my internet connection and Facebook and whatever, there's just not a lot I can do about it. So here's a checkerboard rails from Robin in Minnesota. Robin, I'm headed your way next month. She says, finally getting my checkerboard rails done. I'm so pokey. But like you, we just finished installing granite countertops, and it was the greatest excuse to clean all the cupboards of items I forgot I even had. Still working on my good fortune, but slow and steady wins the race. So good to see you today. Gives me a little bit more motivation to get going. And her picture's coming in eventually. Come on. Maybe it will come in. You know, it could be my router. We live out in the country. We're out here, and we've got 1.5 acres. And our internet is just not the best as it might be in a big city. Plus, we are in a hollow with tall trees all the way around. So we can't even get a good satellite reception here. So let's see if it comes in. I may have to check for that later because it's just not coming in, Robin. It might just be a really, really big file. So we'll get back to that. Russ and Debbie says, Jewel Box Star, oh, beautiful. It's quilted. Just finished my version of this year's Leader and Ender. I used my floral fabric stash, a wide border with fused applique. Love the soft effect I got with this. Thanks, Bonnie. And that's Debbie in South Carolina, whose picture came in immediately. So I'm thinking that the other one was, Robin's was just a big file. So I'll check back for that in a little bit, Robin, unless you can send it in a smaller size. That is gorgeous. Mine is unfortunately still waiting. It's underneath the quilting machine in a pile with other tops that are still waiting. Hopefully we'll get that done after we move the quilting machine to the post office at some time. So here we are. The tulip block is webbed, which means webbing just simply means that the chaining threads between the rows are holding the rows together still. There's no need to cut them apart because these triangles will end up going the wrong direction. And I just need to press. So if I'm pressing towards the center, that solid tulip square, that base, that means that on the outside edges, the seams need to go away from those triangles. So I'm going to press those that way. Okay, and now we are going to stitch these rows together. If there's a place where 2 points are matching, I will usually pin points. If it's just a straight nested seam, I won't. I'm checking to make sure that my needle didn't come unthreaded with that mess. I don't think it did, but maybe, was there a bobbin thread problem? Nope, I've got it. Okay, I'm going to sew on this little piece of junk just to make sure that we're stitching. Okay, so let's try this leader ender again. Just centering it on there. Okay, seems to be all right. All right, we'll sew this square. So nest the seam first. Once you've got that good and nested, then align the top and bottom edges. And then align the next one. And then align the bottom edges and make sure that they stay together. Don't let one layer shift away. Okay, then I need something else to be the leader and ender because this stem is done. So let's grab the 4-patch pairs from the next one. And this one I'm doing an orange and 2 polka dots. Okay. And a blue. It's fun to dig through the small squares box and find pieces that are just right. Okay. Now, this one's going to want to press toward the center row. So far, so good. We just need to attach this last bottom section, and I'm just going to flip it up. There's no need to trim those points, or sorry, those stitches. The only time I would trim those stitches is if the chaining threads is if for any reason I want to press that seam open. Otherwise, they're just going to keep those seams from popping open. Okay, and then nest the next seam. And align the bottom edges together and hold them there. Okay. Now there's the 4-patch. I had them going through the machine the same way, so I am cutting them apart so that I can turn them around. My goal is, along with everything else, I'd like to have different table runners by the month for Quiltville Inn. And they don't have to be the same. I've got 2 dining tables that each seat 8. And they don't have to be the same, but I'd like the colors or the season or whatever to be the same. So in other words, you wouldn't want one Halloween one and one Christmas one on at the same time. So all of these Addicted to Scraps blocks I think would be really, really cute turned into table runners. Okay, so is our block done? Let's see how bad I did on that one point. Oh, it's not too shabby. Okay. Not too great, but not too shabby. It's just got a bulky spot right where it joins the stem. Let's give it a press. And here we go. 1 tulip time block, or whatever you want to call it. These are really fun when they are rotated around in a circle, and the center, this will kind of make a square and square on point. And if you set it with sashings and a cornerstone, there's no points to match here, which makes me really happy. How do we decide when there's going to be sashing? When you don't want to match points. But I really like it. I think this is going to be a fun use of these short ends of strips that need to go away and some simple background fabric that I want to play with and the little leftover green strips that are already cut. It's going to be fun. All right, let's check in one more time. What's going on in your world? Let me know. Here we go. Jan Bristow says, coming in clear as a bell here. So those who were saying that things were fuzzy or not clear, it could be a Facebook glitch, it could be my internet, it could be your internet, but whatever it is, there's nothing that I can do to fix it. We just do the best that we can. This is grassroots quilting. I'm on a laptop in the basement with nobody holding the camera, just me, my machine, some fabric scraps, and some thread. So it is what it is. It's not a high-class production, but I'm so glad that you're joining in today. Jan says, thanks so much for Quilt-Cam. My feed is clear and perfect here in Texas. I am almost done with 7 of these memory quilt tops. All are the same X's and O's pattern. I am so excited to finally see the end in sight. Hope you have a wonderful day in spite of no air conditioner. Lots of love, Jan Bristow in New Braunfels. Oh, Jan, these are pretty, pretty. So she's doing some memory quilts. This would be a great thing to do with recycled clothing or fabric that belonged to a friend's stash, maybe. If you have a quilter friend who passes and maybe she's got leftover scraps and you wanted to make quilts for her family, something like that. This is also a great pattern. It's all stitch and flip corners. It's a great one for baby quilts, charity quilts, lap robes, quilts of valor. Very, very simple and effective. The pattern is just absolutely gorgeous. And can you see her quilting in there? It's phenomenal. It's just beautiful. So much texture. Thank you for sharing that. I really like the scrappy border too. Just lovely. Okay, JP says, working on Granny Square quilt. So happy to catch you live. My daughter and I are working on Granny Square quilts. Thank you for all your tips. She's happy in Moreno Valley, California. Oh, those are super cute. So there's a whole lot of scrappy happy going on there. And isn't it wonderful when mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws, mothers, daughters, cousins, sisters, aunts, and friends can get together to sew. So I'm headed to Minnesota in early June, June 5th. My mom turns 78, and she's flying out to the land of her birth and the land of mine, Minneapolis area. And she and her two sisters and her brother and their spouses, we will all get together and have fun for nearly a week before I head to teach at the Minnesota Quilt Show in Rochester. So I'll be spending a good part of June in the land that grew me up and enjoy it. As if you're going to go to Minnesota, June is like the best month. The mosquitoes aren't too bad yet then, and the snow is long gone. So that'll be fun. And then at the end of the month, I have a trip to the Seven Sisters Quilt Show in San Luis Obispo, California. So if you're looking for something to do at the end of the month, I don't know if all the classes are full, but check the link that's on my calendar of events tab. Just find the date, and the person to contact will be linked under that date on the calendar. That'll be fun. Okay, where were we? Let's do one more. So this is from Michigan Gail, who says, so glad to see you on Quilt-Cam. I'm sewing away on 1008 half square triangles for Emerald City. Looking forward to meeting up again in 2022. Isn't that a crazy year? 2022 on Mackinac Island. We had a blast, but boy, was it cold. Freaking cold. Cynthia Fox says, treadling on geese in a string. I've been learning to treadle, and your pattern is the perfect project. I'm getting close to finishing building the strings, and we'll be adding the orange. It's been a crazy cold and wet couple of days here in Utah, and we have more of the same in the week coming ahead. No gardening, so I'll be inside treadling. Thank you for a Quilt-Cam, and it's now coming in clear for me. So I think something just had to work itself out. Whatever. Okay. Oh, beautiful. Oh, my word. Isn't that lovely? So I'm biggie sizing this just a little bit. She's treadling on a lovely red eye. You can see she's got the red eye machine there. Can't you just feel your feet on that pedal? I love to treadle. I've been rehabbing and getting a treadle machine up and running that was gifted to me by Charlotte and Gotti a few weeks back. And all I need now is the shuttle. We've got the slide plates. The belt is on. I've done a little bit of cleaning and oiling, but what I really, really need is a shuttle to be able to test the stitch. So hopefully that might happen in the next couple of weeks. That is beautiful. I love that machine. Okay. So let's do this. We have April says hand quilting this. And she just sent a picture. Oh, April, that is lovely. So she's working on some applique and she's doing the quilting part. And I see the TV going on in the background. So she's really got feet up, stitching and enjoying her Saturday. That's wonderful. All right, let's power through this next block. What I've got the stem section stitched. Where did it go? Here's the 4-patch. Where did it go? It's right here. Let's trim it up right now. Okay, I'm going to press it. Show you this one. Whoops. So as long as you keep things centered, I will be able to just square this up to the size that it originally started at. So give that a try. Cut a triangle in half. That's the unfinished size of the solid square. It was the same size. Cut it in half on the diagonal. Insert a 1-inch strip. That means there's going to be half of the inch showing. The other two seam allowances will take up the other ½ inch. it won't change the size of the square. If you find that you're taking a little bit too big of a seam allowance, you can either skinny it down or start with a bigger base square. But I'm just going to square this guy. Again, the sizes to cut are in the March-April issue of Quiltmaker Magazine for this year. This is in my Addicted to Scraps column. It's called Blossom Time. I think I called it Tulip Time, which I kind of like myself anyway. But just squaring it up, and it just really, all I'm doing is taking off. There isn't any extra threads really. I'm just taking off the extra dog ears. And then here's just the little tiny little guy, little stem dude. Okay. So we are going to very quickly here send the 4 half square triangles through. I cut these using my Essential Triangle tool in already matched pairs using the same size of strip that is the solid squares in the block. If you want to know how to use the tool instead of going with 7/8 or 3/8 or whatever it is, find the size. If you know the size of the block and the finished size of the unit within that block, just add 1/2 inch as your seam allowance. The one thing I'm really excited about with this year's column is we are expanding it, which leaves me giddy because they've always given me kind of half of a page, right? It's just a half a page column, but they now want me to add 300 words to each column so I can go into further detail on what inspired my choice of this block, whether it was an antique quilt or something I'd always wanted to do or something I saw to work with a particular kind of fabric, what kind of fabrics would work good together, maybe some color choices that might be fun to try, and also talk about the technique that I used and how I work with my scrap user system to make these blocks come to be. So starting January of 2020, look for 300 words to appear with the Addicted to Scraps column. I think it's going to be fun. Okay, so that's 3 una más. One more. Okay, and the last one's going to stay underneath the needle. And we'll bring these ones forward. I likely should have left the stem piece to be the leader ender, but we'll lay this out. Move that one aside. These are my, I did get side squares cut on that one. Okay. Remember, when it comes to spinning the seams on a 4-patch, that it depends what the next unit next to that 4-patch is going to be, whether it'll work or not. So I always turn my block upside down to see how the seams are playing. There may be a unit next to this. If I had this next to a 2-rail unit and the 2 rail units were going around the block, I would not be able to spin the seams in a way that would work. So sometimes just pressing that last seam open or pressing it to one side and rotating is what I need to do. So it all depends. It's not a hard and fast rule to spin these all the time. Ask me how I know that one. Okay, so this is the trim dog ears. I just put my scissors at the stitch line and trim that corner to a 45-degree angle so that it matches, you know, it's the same 45-degree angle that's at the top here. I find it's less mess at the ironing board if I just do that, usually over my trash can before pressing. And then press from edge to edge, not point to point, edge to edge. This is one of my all-time favorite greens. I'm not even sure where I got it. It's been in the stash for so long. It's got a little bit of a turquoise dot in it, but that yellow new spring green is my favorite. Okay, so I've got one of the pieces still underneath the needle. So let's see what we can do here. So that'll go there. That one is there. We can lay out everything but the one that I need. So, whoops. Be sure to turn those right side up. Okay. So, if I turn this way, whoops, and there it goes. Maybe I like the orange one in the middle. Okay. We'll just barely lean it here. So that one triangle that is underneath the needle goes right here. Okay. So if I start piecing here and I sew this one to this one, this one to this one, this one to this one, and snip that one off from the top edge of the chain, I can place it right here and then start the next block as the leaders and enders and be ready to assemble this block. So you go as far as you can on the block you're working on, and when you can't go any further, when your hands are tied, and my hands are pretty much tied as soon as I get this one out of the machine, then I will start putting block number 3 into play. But I really like to work 2 blocks at a time, makes the progress a little bit faster, and I think these are going to turn out really cute. So let's just get this going here. That one, then this one. Try to keep your piecing as continuous as you can. It avoids a lot of thread tails. It keeps triangles in order so that you don't forget which way they turn. They're connected to each other. Okay, so I've gone as far as I can on that block. So this triangle can come forward. This was the one missing one. And it can go into place right there. And then I've gone as far as I can. I can't remove this from the machine because I can't piece onto this yet. So that's when block number 3 comes into play. And I'm just going to do, let's start with, where are those little pieces? There they are. Okay, so this is the stem piece with the 2 triangles. And we're just going to do that as the leader ender. We're going to leave that 4 patch for later on this block and see if that works better. Sometimes I have to switch it up and decide which way makes more sense as I work with the blocks, which one will work, which unit works best as the leader or the ender of the other. There's no hard and fast rules. Okay, so now that that stem section for number 3 is underway, I can remove this. And remember, we're pressing toward the center and towards the corners on the top and bottom row. Okay, so here we are. Can you see how this is? It's a little funky. I can't hold it. I need another hand to make this work. Trust me. Just trust me, will ya? All right. So here we are, ready to add column 3 to column 2. So the second column goes over the first and you sew all the way down, and then you add the 3rd column onto the second. The chaining threads stay in place, press towards the center, towards the outside corners on the top and bottom row, and then you can just flip row 1 over row 2 and stitch, and row 3 over row 2 and stitch. Okay, let's check some more, see what's going on. You guys, I'm so happy that the fuzziness or whatever else was going on is gone, at least for some of you. But for the others of you, know that it might also be your own internet connection, okay? So I have Winda from the Netherlands, and I love this because it came up, it translated. At first I looked at it and thought, oh, that's Dutch, and my Dutch is minimal, but this is lovely. It's translated. It says, great to see you this Saturday evening on live cam. While watching you sew on your machine, I am busy creating hexies in a very small size. I plan on creating a baby quilt with these. As you can see, the hexies are small, but I love the fact that my hands can be busy. Wishing you a great day today. And that's hugs from the Netherlands, and it's Vinda. And her pictures are, oh my goodness. So she's got, I'm going to biggie size this a little bit. So the thimble is about life size, okay? And look how tiny that hexagon is. So if that that spool, if the spool is this size, then the hexagon is just barely bigger than that bobbin. Oh my goodness. So she's got a whole stack here. So she's busy with little pieces. 5 hours or 6 hours time zone away from me. So if it's 3 o'clock here, it's 8 p.m. there. She's further north, so there's still daylight outside. One of these days, I'm going to get back to the Netherlands. I loved it there. Absolutely loved it. Thank you so much, Vinda. That is beautiful, beautiful. Sharon is sharing her Wonky Wishes flimsy. She says, I finished my Wonky Wishes I was working on last quilt cam time. I love this pattern and enjoyed making it so much, and now ready to machine quilt it. Thanks for all you do. This is Sharon in Nebraska. Oh, Sharon, I love that cheddar orange that's popping out in yours. So here's her Wonky Wishes, which is another fun one. If you have an overabundance of 2.5-inch squares, this makes an awesome leader and ender project because you sew triangles improv way, just over the corners of some base squares, and then you trim and you turn them into stars, and it really comes together fast. Of course, my favorite part was the neutral string sashing. I love that. That is gorgeous. All right, so let's get, I've got this block ready to put together, so I'm not stopping here. We are going to add, let me turn this around my way. So column 3 is going over column 2, right sides together. And this just might be my summer quilt cam project. We might work on a lot of these through the summer. So if you want to work on this with me, cut out a bunch. I think this is a great way to clean off the cutting table because it doesn't take too much of any one particular fabric. And there's just, what have we got? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fabrics per block. These little squares came right out of Scrap User System along with everything else. So the biggest piece of scrap was the background of the block. So join in if you'd like to stitch up a garden instead of plant one and weed one. All right, so here we are. Those units are on. I'm going to add, thought for a minute that I sewed this to the wrong side of the fabric, but I didn't. Okay, so I am centering, just centering that second little triangle on the other side of the stem piece. It's important to stay centered or you won't be able to trim it back to the size that that square started at. Okay, so now we've got this little block and we are again pressing the center towards the center so the corners go to the outside. Let me do that with an iron press. I am so happy to be using up those small batik rectangles and have them gone. I'll use some other fabrics in here too. I'm not doing the whole thing as batiks, but it's nice to have them used up. Okay, so I'm nesting that seam tight and then I'm aligning the top edge and I'm sewing from top edge to nested seam. And then nest the next seam. I am a minimal pinner. Nest that next seam and sew to it and then align the bottom edge with the bottom edge underneath it and keep those bottom edges together. Don't let go. You can pin the bottom edges together if you need to. It's when things are just left to feed at will that they end up one ends up a little bit longer than the other, and then that changes the whole shape of your whole unit. Okay, so here's our little stem piece for block number 3. We'll square him up. It just squares up so nice. It's no problem. Kind of a fun technique. Just trimming dog ears and then trims right up. One of my favorite things is using unexpected neutrals. You really can't see them from 6 feet away what they are, but this was just the cutest cat print. So there's cats in my tulips. It's really fun. Let's see if this have, oh, I didn't cut the solid square of this one yet. Okay, so I'm going to feed the 4 triangles through. See if I can find the best method with minimal fuss for getting these blocks through here. And then there's 2 more. I'll have to cut myself some more background triangles from that kitty fabric, or squares. These are the 2 leaf triangles. Okay, so I've sent the half square triangles through, and I will leave those there and bring this block forward. So 2 blocks at a time now are in progress. This is going to press towards the center. Pretty good match if I do say so myself. And then we're just going to put the 3rd row back over the 2nd. Nest that seam, feel that seam just lock into place and hold it there and align the top edge. And then once you reach that seam, nest the next one. And you can feel them, and I kind of work them until they're really locked tightly. You can feel it when they slide together. And then align the top, or the 2 bottom edges, and sew to them. Okay, so you are in control of holding the top of the unit together, the places that nest, the next place that nests, and the bottom of the units. Those are places that are crucial, so don't just let things sew. You're the boss. Show it who's boss. Okay, now I've got these 4 ready to press. I'll do that in a minute, but we want to get these 4 patch pairs running now. So 2 little 4 patch pairs as the leader and ender to get this guy out of here so I can press it and show you. I'm really happy we did 2 in an hour with a whole lot of chatter in between. I wasn't sure how many people would tune in on a Saturday afternoon, but I figured a Quilt-Cam that wasn't well attended would be better than one that wasn't given at all. Okay, so here we go. Ta-da. Let's give this a press. Okay. So we'll show you something about the pressing on the back of this one, because this is important. If we're going to rotate these blocks in the quilt, can you see that the center row, that these seams are going in towards the center, which means the top and the bottom are going out? When this block rotates to join the other blocks in the quilt, if I were to set it without sashings, I'm probably still going to do a skinny sashing in between the 2. But if I'm rotating the block, the place where the 2 seams go out are going to nest directly with the place where 2 seams are going in towards the center. So this is a block that will nest automatically with this kind of pressing. I absolutely love this. I think these are just way too fun. Again, if you want to make some of these tulip blocks, you'll find the directions in my Addicted to Scraps column with Quiltmaker Magazine, the March-April 2019 issue. It's called Blossom Time, and the information in the pattern should also tell you what sizes of strips and units I used with my Essential Triangle tool to get everything in this block from my scrap user system and my stash easily. It's going to be fun. We'll do some more of these through the summer. I think this is a great project. Okay, so what's up for you for the rest of your weekend? I am going to pack things up here. I've got some book orders still to get out, and then get some laundry out of the dryer and fold it and put it away and pack the van, and I'm headed back to Virginia. So if the things that you'll find posted on my blog this week will all happen with my friend Irene visiting from Kentucky. We've got new kitchen countertops in. We've got drywall ceiling in at the post office. They were supposed to be done so that we could paint this weekend, but that won't happen. We've got, oh yeah, no running water at Quiltville Inn right now because the pump is out, but that should be replaced Monday, hopefully. It's always something new and something crazy going on here, so I hope that you'll stay tuned. Our next Quilt-Cam will probably happen, I'd like to do this again early June before I leave for Minnesota. So look for me right after the 1st of June. And if you follow me on my blog, we'll be sure to give you a heads up. This morning we didn't give anybody much of a heads up at all because I didn't know if I'd be able to do it. And we do this impromptu occasionally, but I do like to give you a heads up. You can always find the archived quilt cams under the quilt cam tab at the top of my blog. It will be embedded in that blog post, and the post itself will give you a little bit of background information on what we're working on, where you can find the pattern, what the technique is, what the machine is that I'm sewing on, things like that. So you can visit those always on the blog or also on my YouTube channel. So until next time, if it's early where you are and you still have Saturday to enjoy, don't stop. See if you can get some more stitching in. I'd still love to see your pictures, so you're welcome to send anything to me at quiltcamtime@gmail.com. Until next time, we will see you later. This is Bonnie Hunter in the basement at Quiltville saying, get stitchy, y'all. We'll see you later. Bye-bye. Turn off. Turn off. Turn off.